So the first thing that I wanted to cover in regards to a structured plan is KPIs. So, and this will kind of help you outline the amount of effort you need to put in to your marketing to try and understand what you're likely to get out. So first of all, we're going to speak about GP growth. I've got 3 KPIs that I'd like you to focus on, but first one, GP growth. So as an example, I'm going to use an example because I think it's easier to explain. So as an example, if we take a £1 million turnover MSP with a 40% profit margin, that would give us 400k GP for the business in that year. And let's say that we want to double the growth of that GP. So therefore we would need another 200 GP. So the total GP growth required would be 200k. So now if we have to divide this 200k by the average GP per customer, so let's just say we have 100 customers to make the math simple, and that means that it's 10k per annum of spend per customer. And if we take our 40% profit margin, that makes it 4k per customer. So our simple calculation here is 200k growth required divided by 4k GP per customer. And this means that we will have to obtain 50 new customers in order to hit our target. Now, this is a good calculation because it not only allows you to understand how many new customers you need in order to hit your target, but it also allows you to think about whether it's achievable or not. So in this example, you would need to bring on around 4 to 5 new customers a month. And I do this at every MSP I've ever worked at. I always do this from the off because I need to know how much money I need to spend on marketing in order to get these leads in. Like, what do I need to do to make sure that I hit this target? So, right, the next one is a sales qualified lead. So obviously we need to hit our 50 new customers within that year. And now we need to try and understand how many sales qualified leads we need to obtain in order to get those 50 new customers. So here it's quite easy. So new customers needed, that's simple, 50. And then what we do is we divide it by the closing ratio of your sales team. So whilst every MSP, and myself included, would like to think that if a lead came in, it would result in a sale, it doesn't always work like that, as we all know. So I'd say on average, the closing ratio is probably between 1 in 3 or 1 in 4. But if we go with 1 in 4, so what we do here is you do 50 divided by 0.25, and that means we need to create 200 sales qualified leads in order to hit target. So that's around, 16 to 20 leads, sales qualified leads that you need to get in every month in this example. So, and then on to the next slide. Now, how much is a lead worth? So this is a useful KPI because it allows you to think about the value of a lead and how we're willing to spend, how much money you're willing to spend on marketing in order to create the delivery. So the first bit we've already calculated. So we have an average GP per customer of 4K. And then we times it by the average number of years that you retain your customers. Well, I know it varies, it can vary, but I believe in the MSP industry that we can agree that customers are quite sticky. Now, in all of the MSPs I've worked for, it's on average, it's probably around 8 years, but in an effort to keep it simple, what I've done here is I've put 3 years because that's probably the length of the average contract value. So if we times 4K by 3 years, that means you would get an average lifetime value GP per customer of 12K. So this is just really to bear in mind that if every lead that you could potentially bring in could be worth £12,000. So it's kind of trying to justify what you are willing to spend on your marketing in order to hit this target. And this is, I know for example that TaylorMade's average spend per customer was probably around 40K. Now, obviously, when you first get a customer on board, we would probably only sell them 10 hours worth of block time. We'd probably do some sort of strategic review, and then you'd move on to selling in more services and building that trust. But on average, over the lifetime, it would be it could, well, for that year, actually, it would always work out as around anything between 30 and 40K. So, you know, even if they do come in as even a small customer that have just paid, you know, £1,000 or something, if you build on that, you can always, you know, get them up to quite a big, sizable, sticky client. So it's just worth thinking about. I don't know if you've used this technique before, Tim.
Well, I think one of the good things about sort of maximizing the lifetime value of a customer is actually just having a really simple matrix of all of your customers going down column A, and all the various products and services you provide going across the columns.
Yeah.
And actually working out what you've spoken to a customer about, and what customer takes, and actually gives you an ability to quite easily track the white space that you've got within your client base. And that's one way of helping you maximize the lifetime value of a client. I think the focus here is obviously marketing KPIs. Some of these sales people KPIs, I think sales team KPIs, I think are really important. What, you know, the old adage of what gets measured gets done, I think is so true in any business. It is absolutely critical to have KPIs in a sales team. That could be activity levels, could be the level of cover ratio, so the amount of pipeline salesperson's got against their target. I would generally look in a new business salesperson to have at least a 3 times cover ratio. So if their target is, you know, just to use round numbers, 10K, then they need to have at least 30K as a minimum in their pipeline in the next 3 months, so months 1, 2, 3, for them to have any chance, I think, of hitting their number. And this you end up by just getting away from this generic term busy. You know, how's it going? When you ask a salesperson, or frankly, a lot of business people, a lot of people that run MSPs, yeah, I'm really busy. That means absolutely nothing. You have to be able to measure what that busyness relates to, and good KPIs is the way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. No, that is so true. And I think also the relationship between the marketing and the sales department, we know that not all marketing qualified leads do turn into sales qualified leads, but it's always best to track them, and having those KPIs in place allows you to, you know, have something tangible to, you know, look at every time you meet.
Yeah,
So,
I think we're going to come on later to talk about sales follow-up.
yes.
And I guess my intro to that would be the best salespeople have a good handle on their KPIs and a great relationship with marketing, which we'll come on and talk about.